Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review The Marksman. And this is another Liam Neeson action thriller. This originally came out in January, but finally made its way onto VOD, so I got a chance to watch it. So this is on Amazon and, Fandango and all the other options that you have. This focuses on a former Marine who's a rancher who, of course, is losing his home. His wife has passed away from cancer. He has a daughter-in-law who works for Border Patrol, and he runs into a bunch of people trying to cross the border and get into the United States, and you have all of these different things. He has his best friend is his dog, and check all of these boxes. And of course, the bad guys are the cartels, because, it's dealing with the border and the Mexicans. So, a lot of cliches, and this film really sets up a lot of those kinds of ideas right off the bat. And I was just kind of sitting there like, this movie is going to be a movie. And I was not really looking forward to it after the first, say, 5-10 minutes of the film. And this is from director Robert Lawrence, who is a longtime DP of Clint Eastwood. And a big point here is this feels like this should have been a Clint Eastwood movie. And honestly, this character feels like somebody Clint Eastwood would 100% portray. So I'm a little surprised this wasn't directed and starred Clint Eastwood. But you get Liam Neeson, who Liam Neeson is great in this film. And honestly, he brings this film up. And he does for all of these different kinds of films. And I'm more of one to defend his filmography since Taken, because it's not all just like Taken with this, Taken with that. I love The Grey. It's not just Taken with wolves. It's a very introspective and challenging film that looks at survival and faith, which, interesting enough, this film also takes a look at faith. This one, I don't feel like does it in as an artful or meaningful and deep kind of way. There's moments where it feels very vapid and like on the surface, but this film gets beyond just being this string of cliches because it does actually try to have something to say. Like I said, it's not always the most artful in the way that it does it, or the most meaningful in the way it does it. Sometimes it's very blunt. And it does actually question, because I thought these cartel members were just going to be like these cardboard cutout, like evil guys. And it does, especially towards the end, bring up some potential interesting ideas, but just brings them up. This film would have been so much better if it dove into those ideas. But it does look into violence and faith and fate, and what lies beyond this life, and what brings meaning to our lives. And it has those kinds of things in it. It just doesn't go too deep into it. But right off the bat, Liam Neeson's going to be the star of this film. He is the star of the film. And honestly, this young boy, Jacob Perez, who plays Miguel, that he connects with, I enjoyed their odd couple kind of dynamic, this soon-to-be mentoring dynamic, father figure type dynamic. I enjoyed that. I thought that worked in this film. I do have to say that this is an hour and 15-minute film, and there's not a whole lot of the action in it. And there's long stretches of time where there really isn't, and the pacing can lag a bit. This definitely could have had a little bit more narrative thrust, and a little bit more dynamic action. Like, one of the action set pieces in the middle of the film to keep the narrative going is Clint Eastwood. Oh my God, I even said Clint Eastwood. Liam Neeson getting in a fist fight with a middle-aged cop. You definitely saw stuntmen in the shots, and it's not very interesting. But they do lean into he's a marksman, he's a rifleman, and he does use that throughout the film at certain points, and those are the more interesting, dynamic kinds of sequences. You have some solid action, you have all of the, this film is very streamlined, straightforward, not a whole lot of frills in terms of plot twists and stuff like that. There are some very cheap plot points. Unfortunately, one that is one of the cheapest ways to get emotion, and of course they pull the trigger on that one, and pun intended. But you have those kinds of moments that you're just like, You had to go there. But by the end of the film, I felt their relationship. I really appreciated it. And it ends with a very poignant musical moment with the score. It felt very triumphant and somber at the same time, and the film leaves you on a very particular kind of ending that you might have seen coming, you might not have seen coming. I kind of saw it coming. But in the end, I feel like The Marksman is a very solid, streamlined action thriller with some ideas that are thrown out there, but not really dove into. And in the end, I feel like this is a serviceable watch. Wouldn't necessarily say it's a full-blown good movie. But if you're a fan of Liam Neeson, I think you'll get plenty out of this. But those are my thoughts on The Marksman. Let me know what you think. Let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.